1923 marked the end of over 600 years of Ottoman imperial rule, which at the pinnacle of its power in the mid-16th century dominated lands across much of the Middle East, North Africa, and Eastern Europe. Rising from relative obscurity as a minor regional power in northwestern Anatolia, the Ottoman dynasty would usher in a period of remarkable territorial expansion, coupled with rapid advancements in governmental, social, and economic systems that allowed for one of the most diverse and prosperous empires in the world to flourish.
The Ottoman Empire was one of the largest and longest-lasting empires in history. The empire was known for its strong military, advanced culture, and most importantly, its role as the leader of the Muslim world. The Ottoman sultans were also considered caliph, meaning they had both political and religious authority over the Muslim community. However, by the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire began to weaken. There were several reasons for this. Internally, the empire faced many problems such as corruption, economic difficulties, and inefficient leadership. Externally, European countries like Britain, France, and Russia were growing stronger and expanding their influence. This was part of what we call Western encroachment, where European powers began taking over Muslim lands and interfering in Ottoman affairs. To cope with these challenges, the Ottomans introduced internal reforms to modernize the empire. They tried to adopt Western system of government and law, hoping this would make them stronger. However, these reforms often clashed with Islamic traditions, creating tension within the empire. Eventually, after many years of decline, the Ottoman Empire collapsed after World War I. In 1924, the Caliphate was officially abolished, ending centuries of Islamic leadership under the Ottomans. From the Islamic perspective, the fall of the Ottoman Empire is often seen through the lens of its role as a caliphate of the Muslim world. Firstly, the loss of religious authority in the Ottoman Empire was a key factor in its decline. For centuries, the Ottoman sultans held the title of caliph, meaning they were both political and religious leaders of the Muslim world. However, due to internal weaknesses like corruption and poor governance, their ability to lead according to Islamic principles started to weaken. At the same time, the rise of Western powers reduced the influence of the caliphate. By the early 20th century, the caliph no longer had the authority to unite or protect the Muslim world as before. Next, Western encroachment was a major challenge for the Ottoman Empire. European powers like Britain and France gradually took control of Muslim lands, weakening Islamic governance. They introduced Western laws and cultural practices which threatens the traditional Islamic way of life. This loss of control and influence over Muslim territories created tension and further destabilized the empire. Furthermore, the Ottoman Empire introduced internal reforms to modernize and strengthen itself, adopting Western-style systems like law and education. However, these changes created tension as many felt conflicted with traditional Islamic values. While some saw these reforms as necessary, others believed they were weakening the empire's Islamic foundation. And lastly, Western influence and internal reforms brought significant changes to how Muslims live and practice their faith. Some Muslims embraced these new ideas to modernize their societies, while others resisted, choosing to remain faithful to their original religious and cultural identity. This divide created lasting effects on the unity and traditions of the Muslim world.
There are some key factors that lead to its decline, which is military defeat, economic problem, corruption in the government, and World War I. Military defeat played a critical role in the Ottoman Empire's decline. The Ottomans started losing important battles, which is in 1571 they lost the Battle of Lepanto at sea, which ended their control of the Mediterranean. Later on, in 1693, they failed to capture Vienna, which marked the beginning of losing land in Europe. Internal weaknesses began to erode the strength of the empire. Corruption and inefficiency plagued the government. This is making it difficult to manage the vast territories. Mismanagement and outdated economy policy led to financial difficulties and the empire struggled to keep up with changed global trade dynamic. World War I was the final chapter of the Ottoman Empire, unfolded during that time. The Ottoman joined Germany and the Central Power, but unfortunately they lost the war. After that, the empire was broken apart by the Treaty of Sevres in 1920. Later on, in 1923, the Republic of Turkey was created. So this is the ending of the Ottoman Empire.
From the information stated before, we could see that there are some similarities between the conventional and Islamic perspective regarding the fall of the Ottoman Empire. This event can be seen as an impact from several key causes. First and foremost, the conventional and Islamic perspective agree that the military defeats in the 17th century in the Battle of Vienna in 1683 marked the decline of the Ottoman Empire. Then, the defeats in key battles, such as in Balkan War, led to the loss of territories in the Balkans, which then further weakened the Ottomans' military strength. On top of that, its entry into the World War I on the side of Central Powers led to its final defeat in military, which then resulted with territorial losses of the empire to the Allied powers, and then it eventually disintegrated the empire. But the Islamic perspective also focuses on the spiritual and moral consequences of those military defeats. The loss of key territories is seen as a blow to the Islamic Caliphate's authority, which had significant cultural and religious implications for the Muslim world. Especially, the partitioning of the Ottoman lands by the Allies is seen as the end of the Islamic political unity and the beginning of a new era of foreign and secular domination of the Muslim world. Now, we move on to the second similarities of these two perspectives, which is about the economic struggles in the empire. The conventional perspective see the Ottoman Empire's inability to keep up with the industrial advancements as a decline in its economy. The Ottoman agrarian economy struggled to compete with the industrial advancement, and its failure to invent and respond to the new technology marked as a decline not only in terms of economics but also a decline in the empire as a whole. Apart from that, the empire's need to pay off debts to European powers further drained its resources. Similarly, Islamic perspective also recognized these economic struggles, but with the emphasis of the Western imperialism on the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans' economic dependence on European loans, along with the loss of control over strategic trade routes, weakened their position and also worsened their ability to maintain Islamic governance. Finally, the last similarity between the conventional and Islamic perspective is their views about the political corruption in the empire. The conventional perspective views the internal corruption within the Ottoman government as a key factor in the empire's decline. Bureaucratic inefficiencies, rampant favoritism, and a growing divide between the ruling elite and the common people weakened the empire's ability to govern effectively. Moreover, the failure to reform and the political stagnation within the palace are often pointed to as reasons for the empire's decline. Likewise, the Islamic perspective also highlights this internal corruption, but it often focuses more on the loss of religious authority and the decline of the caliphate. The leadership's inability to adapt to modern governance practices and address internal strife was the contributing factor to administrative failure and societal decay. However, there is still a difference between these two perspectives. The difference can be seen in their interpretation of those factors. The conventional perspective typically emphasizes on the material aspects, such as the military defeats, the economic struggles, and the political failure, as the main causes of the fall of the Ottoman Empire. First, this perspective saw the decline in the empire's military defeats in key battles, such as during the World War I, and the loss of its diverse territories, as a proof of the weakened state of the empire's military capabilities. Moreover, the defeats can also be seen as the empire's failure to adapt to new modern technology in military. This then led us to the second point of this perspective, which is about the economic struggles in the empire. As it was mentioned before, the Ottomans' failure to industrialize and their reliance on agricultural surpluses weakened their economy. As to make things worse, they had to pay off their debts to European powers. Lastly, this perspective saw the decline in the weakening of central authority in government, factionalism between the ruling elite and the common people, and the Ottomans' failure to reform. This portrayed the empire's poor governance and inability to effectively respond to internal and external challenges, which then resulted to the empire's collapse. On the other hand, Islamic perspective often focuses on the religious and cultural implications of the empire's fall. That includes the loss of the caliphate. The loss of the caliphate, which was officially abolished in 1924, is seen as a profound spiritual crisis for the Muslim world. The Ottoman Sultan was regarded as a spiritual leader for the Muslims, so the loss of this position is seen as the collapse of Islamic unity. Therefore, the empire's fall is seen not only as a political failure, but also as a destruction of a culture that upheld Islamic governance with the empire's collapse. When the Ottoman sultans deviated from the core values of Islam, especially with the cultural occupation from the West, it led to internal corruption, which then resulted to the weakening of the empire. In essence, while the conventional perspective focuses on the practical and material aspects, the Islamic perspective highlights the spiritual and religious decline and its implications for the Muslim world. The loss of Islamic leadership, symbolized by the abolition of the caliphate, which is seen as the critical event that marks the collapse of the empire, whereas the conventional view might interpret this simply as a political or historical event without the same emotional and religious resonance.
The fall of the Ottoman Empire has had a huge impact worldwide, especially on the states that were under the rule of the Ottoman Empire. Politically, through Islamic perspectives, the fall of the Ottoman Empire has led to the loss of political unity. Right after the invasion of the European power, Islamic governance became weakened and led to the abolishment of the caliphate system. The abolition of the caliphate left the Muslim world without a central political authority, leading to the absorption of a secular system, which caused fragmentation and a lack of unified action on global issues. We can look through many of the post-Ottoman states that exercise secular governance models and put Islamic principles on the sidelines models, leading to debates on the role of religion in politics. Second, the fall of the Ottoman Empire also leads to the emergence of revivalist movements. The fall inspired Islamic movement advocated for re-establishing the caliphate or governance rooted in Sharia. Though their approaches and impacts have varied, groups such as the Muslim Brotherhood emerged to address this void. This led to the establishment of pressure groups such as terrorists as an action to control and pressure the current government to re-establish the Islamic State. However, through conventional perspectives, the fall has caused the formation of a nation-state. The formation of a nation-state led to the creation of modern states like Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and others, with new political systems based on European models known as secular systems. This transition caused a change in the transition of power and political relations which often ignored cultural and ethnic complexities, leading to long-term instability in the Middle East. For example, in the conflict between Israel and Palestine, the British promised the international Zionist movement their support in recreating the historic Jewish homeland in Palestine via the Balfour Declaration. Such action become the reason for the creation of political conflict up until now. Additionally, Western influence caused the political vacuum created by the fall, allowed European powers to dominate the region through mandates and spheres of influence. This continues manifesting in Western political and economic involvement in Middle Eastern affairs. Socially, through Islamic perspectives, the fall caused an identity crisis. The fall disrupted the Muslim world's sense of unity and collective purpose, leaving many Muslims grappling with questions of cultural and spiritual identity. The empire's fall led to a crisis of identity and led to the existence of extremists, sparking debates on reconciling Islamic tradition with modernity brought in by the European power. Consequently, we lost the true identity of Islam in a country that was once a center of Islam and knowledge, for example, Baitul Hikmah. But now, everything will lead back its trace dominantly to European power. Through conventional perspectives, the fall led to the cultural fragmentation. The loss of Ottoman authority meant the erosion of shared identity and the transition of culture and norms across a multicultural empire. This fragmentation intensifies sectarian and ethnic divides. In conclusion, we can see through the modern era that the fall of the Ottoman Empire continues to resonate today, influencing political, cultural, and religious discourse. The geopolitical divisions created by post-Ottoman Empire remain a source of tension in the Middle East, worsen the conflict, and hinder the regional unity. Moreover, we can look through conventional and Islamic perspective towards the fall of the Ottoman Empire. In secular circles, the fall is viewed as a step toward progress and modernization. Meanwhile, in Islamic thought, it is a reminder of the importance of governance rooted in shared values and the need for unity within diversity. The Muslim world continues to grapple with questions of identity, seeking a balance between modern nation-states and the historical memory of unity under the Caliphate. It is a lesson for us that we can learn that the fall of the Ottoman Empire underscores the danger of imperialism, the challenge of modernization, and the necessity of governance that aligns with the aspiration of the people. In today's era, the lessons from the fall of the Ottoman Empire serve as a reminder of the importance of cultural, political, and religious inclusivity alongside the need for unity in addressing global challenge. While the empire is gone, its history offers a blueprint for understanding the complexities of governance and coexistence in an increasingly interconnected world.